In this video, I'm going to be modeling for you and talking you through some of the concepts and strategies that we use for the customary system. So the customary system is another system of measurement that we use to measure length, mass and weight, and capacity. Now the customary system is more challenging because there's no set pattern of relationships between the different units. So if you remember back to the metric system, everything worked in groups of 10 or hundreds or thousands. So everything was very similar to our place value system. The customary system is not like that at all. There are many different relationships that you need to remember. So I'm going to show you the ones that fourth graders need to be aware of and kind of what we talk about. And then I'll go through a couple of different types of examples of what they might need to think about and use problem-solving strategies when they're talking about different measurements. So for example, let's just talk first about what they need to be responsible for kind of memorizing and being familiar with. So with length, we work with the inch, the foot, the yard, and the mile. And they need to be able to go back and forth between any of them. So they need to know that 12 inches make a foot, 3 feet make a yard, and 5,280 feet make a mile. For weight and mass, they need to know that 16 ounces make a pound. And then for capacity, we use this fun little visual and story that goes along with it. And there's a couple of different variations of the story. But one that we work with in class is there's this place called Gallon Land. And Gallon Land's a very special place because there are 4 queens. Each queen has 2 princes or princesses. Each prince or princess has 2 cats. And each cat drinks 8 ounces of milk during the day. Now, you might think, well, that's really not about capacity. Well, each of those represents a different unit of measurement. So the G is for gallon, and every gallon, there are 4 quarts. Every quart has 2 pints, or you could also say every gallon has 2, 4, 6, 8 pints. And then every pint has 2 cups, and every cup has 8 ounces. Fourth graders do need to be careful about these fluid ounces versus these ounces. It can be a little bit tricky sometimes, so they got to think. If it's asking about pounds, I need to remember that relationship, but if it's talking about ounces and pints and quarts and things like that, then I need to remember it's more of an 8 relationship. All right, so those are just the units and the relationships they need to be familiar with. Now I'm going to talk you through a couple of the different examples they might be using this information. So here's 2 simple ones that they might do, and it's very similar to the metric ones that we did. So here they're asking, if you have 3 yards, how many feet is that? Well, I always take it back to their basic relationship. 1 yard comes from 3 feet. So if 1 yard comes from 3 feet, well, what did I do to my yards? I multiplied my yards by 3. So I'm going to multiply my feet by 3. I tripled my yards, so I'm going to triple my feet. 3 times 3 is 9. So 3 yards is 3 feet. All right, here's another one that's a little bit harder, but I have 5.5 pounds is how many ounces. So I'm going to be using this information over here. So this one I like to break up into the whole and then the part here. So if I have 5 pounds, that comes from 16 ounces. Oh, wait, no. Sorry. I'm looking for 5 pounds is how many ounces? Well, 1 pound is 16 ounces. Well, what did I do to my pounds? I multiplied them by 5. So let me multiply my ounces by 5, okay? Well, 16 times 5, I can use one of my little area models over here. 16 times 5, that's 50, and that's 30, so it's 80. All right, so now I got to be careful there because that's only the 5 whole pounds is 80 ounces, okay? So let me walk you through what we would do for this half of a pound. So I'm trying to figure out if I have half of a pound, how many ounces is that? Well, 1 pound is 16 ounces. Now this is the tricky part. What did I do to my pounds here? I divided it by 2 and I'm only using half of it. So I divided by 2 because that's what that denominator tells me. The whole was divided by 2. So what I need to do here is do 16 divided by 2, and that is 8. Now there's still one more step because The 80 ounces was just for the 5 pounds. The 8 ounces was just for the half of a pound. So I need to put them together. 80 plus 8 is 88 ounces. All right, so when you have mixed numbers like that, you need to I suggest doing the whole number conversion and then the fraction conversion and then joining them together. All right, now let's look at a little bit more of a complex question here. So here, there's a recipe. It's 2 quarts of 7-Up, 3 pints of juice, and 1 gallon of sherbet. And they're asking, how many total cups do I need? Maybe you only have a measuring cup, and so you got to be able to convert that. Well, all of these need to be converted to cups. So I'm going to go over here to gallon land to help me remember it. Instead of trying to remember all of this, I just do a quick sketch of it, and then I can actually use my visual and instead of trying to really try to remember. So let's see here. If I have 2 quarts, well, each quart has 4 cups in it. So if 1 quart is 4 cups, 1 quart has those 4 cups, I have 2 quarts, because I multiplied by 2, so I need to multiply this by 2, okay? 8 cups. Now that's only for this one. So now I need to work on this one. I have 3 pints, and I'm trying to figure out how many cups that is. Well, 1 pint has 2 cups. So 1 pint is 2 cups. So what I do here, I tripled my pints, so I need to triple my cups. 3 times 2 is 6. All right, there's 6. And now I have 1 gallon of sherbet. Well, let's see here. 1 gallon is how many cups? Well, you could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but we really want fourth graders to start noticing that, you know, there's groups of 2. Let me just count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 cups in a gallon. All right, so there we are there. So now it's asking how many total cups. Well, here I just need to add my 8, my 6, and my 16. Well, 6 and 6 is 12, and 8 more is 20. 2 and 1 is 30. So 30 total cups in my recipe. All right, so really work hard with your 4th grader to remember the relationships between the inches, the foot, the yard, the mile, the ounces and the pounds, and all of these capacity ones. And then I always really recommend to them, if they're asking me for multiple yards to feet, well, let me take it back to the basic one. If 1 yard is 3 feet, then yards is, and I can use that relationship there. All right, so these are some examples of what you might need to do with the customary system.